ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
स्वस्त्यस्तु विश्वस्य विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदताम्।
स्वस्त्यस्तु विश्वस्य खलः प्रसीदताम्।
ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया।
ध्यायन्तु भूतानि शिवं मिथो धिया।
तं शिवं धिया
मनश्च भद्रं भजतादधोक्षजे।
मनः
मनश्च भद्रं भजताद् अधोक्षजे।
आवेश्यतां नो मतिरप्यहेतुकी।
अवेश्यतां नो
अवश्यतां नो
मतिर्
मतिर् अपि
भय
अहैतुकी।
अहेतुकी।
Yeah, would like to read. This is a big purport.
मैं
Yes, please.
Oh, go ahead, Matali.
नहीं कोई नहीं जी ब्रो गो अहेड।
Hare Krishna. Translation. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing Bhakti Yoga. For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of them, in thought of Him. Purport. The following verse describes a Vaishnava. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Just like a desired tree, a Vaishnava can fulfill all the desires of anyone who takes shelter of his lotus feet. Prahlad Maharaj is a typical Vaishnava. He prays not for himself but for all living entities, the gentle, the envious, and the mischievous. He always thought of the welfare of mischievous persons like his father Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad Maharaj did not ask for anything for himself. Rather, he prayed for the Lord to excuse his demoniac father. This is the attitude of a Vaishnava, who always thinks of the welfare of the entire universe. Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Dharma are meant for persons who are completely free of envy, Paramo Nirmatsaranam. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays in this verse, Khalah Prasidatam. May all the envious persons be pacified. The material world is full of envious persons, but if one frees himself of envy, he becomes liberal in his social dealings and can think of others with them. Anyone who takes up Krishna consciousness and engages himself completely in the service of the Lord cleanses his mind of all envy. Manasya Badram Bhajatad Adhoksha. Therefore, we should pray to Lord Narsimhadev to sit in our hearts. We should pray Bahir Narsimha Hridaye Narsimha. Let Lord Narsimhadev sit in the core of my heart, killing all my bad propensities. Let my mind become clean so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given us a very fine purport in this regard. Whenever one offers a prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one always requests some benediction from him. Even pure, Nishkama devotees pray for some benediction as instructed by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshashtaka. Ayi Nanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Budhav Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sthita Dhuli Sadrisham Vichintaya. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms or at your lotus feet. In another prayer, Lord Chaitanya says, Mama Janmani Janmanishware Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahai Tuditwai. Life after life, kindly let me have unalloyed love and devotion at your Lordship's lotus feet. When Prahlad Maharaj chants Om Namo Bhagavate Narsimhaya, he prays for a benediction from the Lord, but because he is also an exalted Vaishnava, he wants nothing for his personal sense gratification. The first desire expressed in his prayer is Swasti Astu Vishwasya. Let there be good fortune throughout the entire universe. Prahlad Maharaj has requested the Lord to be merciful to everyone, including his father, a most envious person. According to Chanakya Pandit, there are two kinds of envious living entities. One is a snake, and the other is the man like Hiranyakashipu, who is by nature envious of everyone, even of his father or son. Hiranyakashipu was envious of his little son Prahlad, but Prahlad Maharaj asked a benediction for the benefit of his father. Hiranyakashipu was very envious of devotees, but Prahlad wished that his father and other demons like him would give up their envious nature by the grace of the Lord and stop harassing the devotees. Khalah Prasiddham. The difficulty is that Khala, envious living entity, is rarely pacified. One kind of khala, the snake, can be pacified simply by mantras or by the action of a particular herb. Mantraushadhi vashah sarpa khalakena nivaryate. An envious person, however, cannot be pacified by any means. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays that all envious persons may undergo a change of heart and think of the welfare of others. If the Krishna consciousness movement spreads all over the world, and if by the grace of Krishna everyone accepts it, the thinking of envious people will change. Everyone will think of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays Shivam Mithodhiya. In material activities, everyone is envious of others, but in Krishna consciousness, no one is envious of anyone else. Everyone thinks of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays that everyone's mind may become gentle by being fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna. Bhajatad adhokshaja. As indicated elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, Savai Manah Krishna Padara Vindayo, and as advised by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 18.65, Manmana Bhavamad Bhakta. One should constantly think of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Then one's mind will certainly be cleansed. Cheto Darpana Marjana. Materialists always think of sense gratification, but Prahlad Maharaj prays that the Lord's mercy will change their minds and they will stop thinking of sense gratification. If they think of Krishna always, everything will be all right. Some people argue that if everyone thought of Krishna in that way, the whole universe would be vacated because everyone would go back home, back to Godhead. However, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this is impossible because the living entities are innumerable. If one set of living entities is actually delivered by Krishna consciousness movement, another set will fill the entire universe. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So, Dhyayantu bhutani shivam mithodhiya manascha bhadram bhajatad lokshate. So let everyone's mind become peaceful by accepting devotional service, by serving the Supreme Lord. So there are two types of aparadh actually. One is Vaishnava aparadh, against the devotees of the Lord. Another one is Jiva aparadh, offense against other living entities. So the offense against other living entities is classified as sinful activity, papa. Against devotees, it is considered an offense. So certainly one who is trying to advance in bhakti, sometimes we see, when devotees are very new, even when at least when their consciousness is very neophytic, they think that it's all right to cause mischief to others, non-devotees. It doesn't matter. Anyway, they are non-devotees. How does it matter? So it's not like that. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita very clearly, Mamayava ansha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. So whether the living entity is covered over by Maya or he's not covered over by Maya, he's dear to the Lord. It doesn't matter whether there is a frog crawling in the gutters or it's a small cockroach on the wall, or whether it's a Vaishnava walking inside the temple. Lord is equally disposed to every living entity. Lord is not favoring someone or he's not against anyone. So therefore, the Vaishnava principle is also Jive Daya Nama Ruchi Vaishnava Seva. So for those who are covered over Maya, they are actually objects of our pity. They are the objects of our sympathy because they are suffering. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, and they have no idea. They have no idea of what is the purpose of their life. They have no idea why they are even suffering. And yet they feel that they are actually, seeking, yet they feel that they are actually feeling happiness, even though they are actually suffering. So they are the objects of our compassion. But this compassion can only come when one is well versed in the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. When one has very deeply understood the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, then only one can actually feel genuine compassion. So, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha. So Vaishnava can fulfill the desires of every living entity. Now this may seem like a bit contradictory. How can a Vaishnava fulfill the desires of all living entities? So actually, every living entity is seeking happiness. He may seek this happiness in different places. Someone seeks this happiness in education, someone may seek this in family, someone may seek this in wealth. But the reality is that actual happiness is only belonging to the soul. It only comes when the living entity has found the source of that happiness. Everyone is seeking happiness, but they just don't know where to seek it actually. So the Vaishnava out of his compassion, actually shows the people where to find that happiness. Therefore, he is known as Kalpataru, wish-fulfilling tree. He can fulfill all desires. Actually, all desires will be fulfilled if the living entity finds Krishna. Therefore, a Vaishnava is called Kalpataru, because he can bring the living entity to Krishna, and thus all the desires will be fulfilled. So if we look at slightly broader perspective of Bhagavatam, we will understand. One may seek happiness in family in this life. In the next birth, he may seek something else because he has not found the objective of his life. In this life, he may seek happiness in family and he will suffer. And then he'll become disgusted. He'll say, okay, this is all nonsense. But because he hasn't found Krishna, in the next birth, he will start seeking this happiness in maybe material wealth. And then it will take another lifetime to realize that even that is disgusting. Then one may want to actually ascend to heavenly planets. And when one reaches there, one will be disgusted even there. So in this way, one will keep on wandering up and down until such time as he finds Krishna. He is not able to give up material desires and he will suffer. But this change of desires will only come when one gets the association of a pure Vaishnava. So actually, all the living entities are suffering because of envy. Srila Prabhupada describes this, that this material world is limited. So one's desires may be unlimited, but the material world itself is limited. So every living entity has to defend. What is mine cannot be yours, and what is yours cannot be mine. So if I want what is yours or you want what is mine, then we will become naturally envious towards each other. And that's why we have, societies, families, societies, nations fighting with each other at all times. So actually, you see, that is a sign of ignorance, envy and ignorance. So if a devotee also thinks that he's some Indian or American or African or Jew or Christian, then that devotee is also actually nonsense. He has no knowledge of the scriptures. So this is born out of just plain envy. I am this, you are not this, therefore I will hate you. So this is the actual deep-rooted envy within our hearts. So just like we saw yesterday that we were praying to Lord Nrsimhadev to remove these unwanted desires from our heart, the unwanted desire for sense gratification. Now we are also praying to Lord Nrsimha to remove this enviousness from our heart, this tendency to be envious of other living entities. So this enviousness is very, very difficult to remove. It can only be removed when one finds satisfaction. Actually, envy comes when I am not satisfied, because I want something and I fear that you may take it away. Naturally, I will become envious towards you. On the other hand, if I find Krishna, then I know that I have the source of everything. Like we see the example of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj, as soon as he obtained the audience of the Lord, he became completely satisfied. So although he was praying to the Lord to get a kingdom bigger than that of his fathers, as soon as he saw the Lord, all his desires were pacified. He did not want anything anymore after that. He was completely all right. So when he saw the Lord, he was completely satisfied, and yet the Lord fulfilled his material desires. In fact, he got a kingdom which is transcendental. So we can see here actually that unless one has attained Krishna, one's heart will not be pacified. One may keep on satisfying all the desires that he has, but one will remain dissatisfied. Because by nature, this material world is a boring place. You will obtain something and you'll get bored with it. And immediately you would want something new. And therefore, there will be envy. So if one prays to the Lord Nrsimhadev to remove this envy from the heart, that is an appropriate prayer. And this enviousness can only be removed when one actually seeks only the audience of the Supreme Lord. Savai Manaha Krishna Padarvindayo. So, applying one's mind only at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Krishna Padarvindayo, the lotus feet of Krishna. Then one's heart will be cleansed. So the process actually begins with only chanting. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. So Cheto Darpana Marjanam, the cleansing of the mirror, and Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, this burning fire of material world, that will be vanquished. So, I want this, this is this, this is that. That is all burning fire. People work very hard to acquire some education, then they work very hard to earn wealth, then they work very hard to raise families, and eventually they realize that all their life they've just been working hard and never really attained any kind of happiness. So this artificial hope of happiness in this material world, that is vanquished. Bhava Mahadarvagni Nirvapanam. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. Srila Prabhupada explains that moonlight is actually very pleasant. Sunlight is harsh. People need shade. But moonlight is actually very pleasing. Especially like, in northern parts of India, if you go in the summer nights, moonlight is very pleasing because it's a very cooling light. It even renders fruits and vegetables juicy. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. So it endows your life with wisdom. Vidya Vadhu Jivanam. Anandam Budhivardhanam. It increases the ocean of happiness, ocean of bliss. Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam. So you at every step you engage, you are tasting the nectar of bliss. Sarvatma Snapanam. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. So all the living entities are completely satisfied. This is the glory of Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, the glory of the Sankirtan of Supreme Lord. So if one can somehow or the other render service to Krishna, but this is a matter of discipline. In the beginning, the senses are very strong. One will not be able to give sense gratification just like that. So one has to, as a matter of discipline, engage in the process of chanting, doing Sankirtan, book reading. Then one gradually will become fixed in this process of bhakti. Hare Krishna. Yes. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna is in the program.
Pranam.
So this is regarding text number 9. Yesterday we discussed. There is non-devotees, like Gyanis and also, etc. And they are very inferior. And the only thing is to be devotee. No, I agree, because we are in devotion and there is no challenge. But when I say Gyanis and what is the other thing? Those two people, well, they are people who come to a group which is much worse than that. They virtually are criminals. They do not talk about anything like religion or anything intelligent. They are absolutely barbarian and I would say more hellish type. So they are very much better than the Gyanis, etc. are much better than them. So where does that group comes?
Which group actually I'm not able to understand, Prabhu.
In text 9, it is said non-devotees. Right? And non-devotees, it is given in the comments of Prabhupada. That is Gyanis and Yogis. Right? So this is treated, they are worse than the devotees. But there are people who are worse than these fellows. You see, Gyanis and Yogis are certainly elevated, not like the devotees, but they are elevated group. They are people who are more animalist type and hellish. How do we treat them? Where do they come?
Okay, so here Prabhupada is actually, in the context is like this, that even if one is a Gyani or a Yogi, one will fall down to Maya. Because the desires of the heart are still there. They may have been controlled by the process of actions or knowledge or by austerity. But desires are still there because one doesn't know where these desires are meant to be directed. So one is simply holding them back. So when the dam of these desires becomes too full, then it will crack. So certainly these ordinary living entities who are not yogis or karmis, who are karmis, not karma yogis, they are certainly in a very fallen state. But even yogis and jnanis, they are also in a dangerous position because they are not devotees. So they don't know where the life's desires are meant to be directed.
No, that part I agree. I understood that part. Because if they don't become devotees, then they will fall down further. But my only thing is these two groups are certainly better than the karmis. And among karmis also are the different categories. One is just karmi like me and all that. But the karmis are worst. They're murderers, they're drunkards, they're rogues. So what happens to them?
They're animalistic. They're animalistic. But the context here is that even if one is a jnani or a yogi, one is still susceptible to fall down. One is not in a position.
That I quite agree. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
So that was bothering my head because those fellows are absolutely animalists. Where do they come? Anyway, part of the game. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. One more question.
Yes.
Prabhuji, here it says Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Dharma are meant for persons who are completely free from envy. Ab completely free, when we are in the material world, means ke envious to hum hain hi hain. We are not completely free. So fir Bhagavad Dharma and Srimad Bhagavatam, why does it say so that they are meant for people who are completely free from envy?
Okay. See, we are sadhakas. We have a lot of envy and lust in our heart. Bhagavad Dharma and the Bhagavad scripture, when devotees engage in them, then they derive bliss. So if you study, for example, Chaitanya Bhagavat or Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, the descriptions of, Adi Leela, descriptions of Gadadhar Pandit or Mukunda Dutt or Vakreshwar Pandit, you'll see that, like especially Gadadhar Pandit, he would read Bhagavatam, but he would cry so much that his copy of Bhagavatam would be cleansed. Like it would be like the ink would get washed off. I mean, we practically fall asleep.
Got it.
So we are studying Bhagavatam to understand what the process is like, and we are trying to purify ourselves. And if we keep on doing it again and again and again, eventually there would be a day when we would also cry when we study the Bhagavatam.
Very good. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna ji.
Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhuji, then, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So then it will not be counted as Jnana Marg?
No, this is not Jnana Marg.
Bhakti?
Yeah, see, Prabhu. Now, this is a very good question, actually. What is Jnana and what is Bhakti? It is not the activity itself. It is not the activity itself which decides whether this is yoga or karma or jnana or bhakti. It is the consciousness behind the activity. A jnani, okay, let's talk about studying the Bhagavatam or studying the Bhagavad Gita. If one is studying the Bhagavad Gita from the point of view of memorizing the verses, speaking nicely, or just trying to see what Bhagavad Gita means, that is jnana. But if one studies Bhagavad Gita from the perspective of knowing Krishna, who is Krishna, how do I get closer to him, then that is bhakti. That is not speculation. Because if one is just doing it for the sake of, just pandering to his own false ego, just trying to memorize verses, that is jnana, speculation. Jnana literally means speculation. So study of Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the Bhagavatam that we have, translations by Srila Prabhupada, this is not jnana, this is bhakti, pure bhakti, because we know the conclusion already. We know already Krishna is the supreme. We are trying to find out his greatness. We are trying to find out ways and means of surrendering to him. So that is, and there is no speculation here. We are trying to understand it from various perspectives, but the path is very clearly given here. We are just going into the depths of it. So this will not be classified as jnana. This is buddhi yoga. This is bhakti.
So, Prabhuji, when we read these books, for example, Srimad Bhagavatam ya Chaitanya Charitamrita, you feel like reading them again, or actually you enjoy reading them. So then, what does that mean? What is that enjoyment then?
You read it again and again until, see, right now, this is a taste of bhakti. But we are still not experiencing bliss because we still enjoy our family, we still enjoy our games, other things. So we are still attracted to the phenomenal world. We are still attracted to Maya. So this is not pure devotion. When we feel like doing nothing but chanting and reading the Bhagavatam, that day would be pure devotion. So when we keep on reading again and again, as the taste goes on increasing and we keep pushing this taste further and further, we will one day experience pure bhakti also.
ठीक है जी, thank you Prabhu ji. Hare Krishna ji.
I feel it is very fine difference between two. Anytime the bhakt can become a jnani and jnani can become a devotee. Now suppose I read Bhagavatam or in Bhagavad Gita. I read it, I feel like reading it again and again. I may not understand it properly. I know Krishna is the Almighty, written by Krishna and all that. That I know. But when I read a particular text, I don't follow it. Follow it to the extent of wisdom. But I still feel like reading it. So that will fall in the Bhakti, I think, in the devotion.
Yes. Prabhupada's books will always classify as devotion only, because there is no other conclusion. After studying Prabhupada's books, you will not come to any other conclusion except that Krishna is the Supreme and we have to serve him.
Absolutely.
So this is bhakti only. This cannot be classified as jnana in that sense.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that clarification, because even being situated in Gaudiya Sampradaya, in ISKCON for many years, people are under the misconcept of reading Prabhupada's books. Okay, that is Prabhupada's books, especially Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada's purpose is coming under Gyan. They feel like ये तो ज्ञान का काम है. असली भक्ति मतलब जप करना and भगवान का सेवा करना है. I said, how? You go to temple to hear 2 lectures, and when you are reading Prabhupada's books, you think that this is Gyan. Of course, knowledge is there, but there is knowledge of the Supreme Personality of God and knowledge of Bhakti is only being communicated over here. So today you gave a very nice, very crisp explanation of that thing. So devotees should never think that we are actually pursuing Jnana when we are reading, especially Bhakti literatures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and especially when they are reading Prabhupada's books, because Bhaktivedanta purports are always inundated with love. So it is nothing out of bhakti. People may misunderstand it as outsiders may misunderstand it as Gyan, but devotees in ISKCON should never think it in that way.
No, this is like definitely not speculation. Because after studying Prabhupada's books, you will come to the conclusion that you have to serve the Lord, you have to chant. So this cannot be classified as Gyan. Gyan means speculation. You're trying to find out. Thato Brahma Jigyasa. So what is Brahma? Who is Brahma? Where is Brahma? No answer to that. Or Tat Tvam Asi. That you are. So what am I? Who am I? So those questions are not answered. Upanishad is not giving direct answer to this. But Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is directly saying, Aham sarvasya prabhava, matta sarvam pravartate. I am Krishna. I am the source of everything. So there is no question of speculating on the Bhagavad Gita at all. So Prabhupada's books are directly giving the conclusion. They are starting with the conclusion. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Oh, I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, who is the son of Vasudeva. So who is the son of Vasudeva? Not Narayan, not Narsingha, not Vaman, not Matsya, not Kurma. It is Krishna. Specifically, that's why Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So it starts with conclusion. Srimad Bhagavatam starts with the very conclusion of Krishna. So there is no question of speculation on Srimad Bhagavatam. So Prabhupada's books are also following the same Bhagavat mark, so they cannot be speculation at all. So anyone who thinks like this is actually quite ignorant. Yes, so we stop here. Maybe we continue tomorrow. Tomorrow's verse is very important. Please be here. Tomorrow would be like very important verse. Okay, so thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Krishna.